Well, the world has sure gone nutty, buddy, even downright cruddy, buddy. Wish I missed the past, buddy, but there's still Buddycast. No, don't be naughty, go meet everybody here on Buddycast.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder and host of Buddycast, Nick Sorensen.
Good evening, buddies, and welcome back to everybody's favorite show, Buddycast. I'm your host, Nick Sorensen. Thank you for joining us on this lovely Wednesday evening. I'm a day ahead of myself. We've got a special buddy here, my buddy Emily, aka E.P. Livingston, who is the author of the very well-written book, The Senator's Daughter. How are you doing today, Emily?
I'm well. How are you, Nick?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Most definitely. Emily, what's it like being an author? I got to know. I've always jumped up writing a book.
Well, it takes a lot of perseverance, that's for sure. I think just keeping at it and really honing in on an idea and seeing if it works or not. And then once it does work, making sure that you keep working at it. It takes a lot of dedication.
Nice. What was your inspiration behind this book?
So it actually began as a short story I wrote for my my college thesis for my major. And so it had started, I wanted to do something that revolved around Indigenous people. I don't feel like we talk about it enough. And I wanted to write a story that kind of explored the history behind their displacement and all of the trauma that has caused, all of these people are experiencing it today. So I decided that I wanted to focus in on the Indian Removal Act, which was passed in 1830. So I started researching what senators were prominent during that time, and I found that Daniel Webster was a pretty prominent senator. And I decided to have the main character be his daughter. And she discovers that the Indian Removal Act is coming before Congress, and she's not happy about that. Her mother had exposed her to different philanthropic efforts when she was younger. So the whole novel kind of revolves around her finding out what she can do to help.
Nice. What I like about the book is a mix of like fiction and history. So how much research went into the history aspect of it?
So I tried to keep the timeline as historically accurate as I could. So the events that occur, the prominent political figures that are in the novel, those people all existed. And the fiction part of it was Julia Webster herself, all of her motivations, her character, that was all kind of something that I created in my mind, because there's not much written about her. And I think that's pretty common with a lot of the sons and daughters and kind of spouses of that time, just because it was the political figure that was talked about a lot and not really their family very much. So, and there are some characters that were fictional as well, but I tried to keep the historical accuracy in the timeline and the actual historical events that occurred.
Nice. Now I gotta ask, what was your favorite part to write about? What was the chapter or the segment, like the part that you just got the most joy out of writing? Like,
I think when, because she ends up going down to North Carolina and interacting with Indigenous people, and she becomes close with the person that she's kind of staying with when she goes down there. I think that was the most satisfactory portion of the book. That I really enjoyed writing that. I really enjoyed the different setting and her coming in contact with a Native American character, and like really getting a sense of the human angle in what she's trying to fight and everything else. I think that was the most satisfying thing for me to write.
Nice. Now, with all the research that you went through, with all the parts that you created, what did you learn most on the history side, and what did you learn most from the character you created?
I think just seeing what the political climate was back then, I really had no idea. I feel like that part of American history really isn't explored too much in historical fiction. And I think because I did a lot of research with what led up to the Indian Removal Act, but I've since done a lot of research on the implementation of it and how long it took for the government to actually start removing people. It was a lot of back and forth. There were treaties that were signed that the nations really didn't approve, but it was the people that were representing them that approved treaties that they didn't really want to happen. And I think crafting a character that is, she's a young woman, and being really mindful of the limitations that she faced as a woman of that time as well. She couldn't just do whatever she wanted. She had to kind of bend to her father's will and that kind of thing. I think she found that her older brother had a lot of an easier time navigating the world than she did. And I think like exploring Indigenous people and exploring kind of the limitations women faced at that time too. I think it was kind of a twofold thing going on there as well.
Wonderful. Now, I'm always interested, like I said, from like an aspiring author, what was your publishing process like?
So I had thought about doing traditional publishing. I had done a lot of research about how to traditionally publish. I knew that it was going to be, you send queries out to literary agents and you get rejections. That's what I learned. And that happened to me as well. And I actually, one of my mentors, he let me know about Next Chapters, which is a local independent book publisher. And I met with Tim Vicky, who runs Next Chapters, and I decided that I would rather the story be out there in the world than wait to see if it could be traditionally published. So working with that, learning like how to typeset my manuscript, my cousin actually did the cover for the book, and working with her was a great experience. She did a fantastic job. Kind of becoming more familiar with all the intricacies that go into publishing a book was an interesting experience. But I'm very glad that I went that route for my first book. I think maybe having it grow organically is something that is exciting to me. And I am a current employee of Gannon University, and they've been extremely supportive and just really excited for me and getting the book out there and everything else. So that's been a great thing that's come of it as well.
Wonderful. Gannon really is a tremendous place. Speaking from an alumni's perspective, they really do help you. You're absolutely right. They help you along your journey with any dream that you have. They're there to support you. So
yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm. What was it like working with Next Chapters?
It was great. Tim kind of outlined what the process was. And I tried to take a lot of the steps that lead up to publishing.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to do that myself, just because I wanted to be involved with it and everything else. So I think it's a great service. I think because they help writers at any step of the process. If somebody's has an idea and they're not sure where to go with it, or they've started something and they're kind of stuck and everything else, they help authors at any point in the process, which I think is really a great service for our community.
That's wonderful. Because just being that guy, like being like the person trying to write the next chapter, you get writer's block, you get, where do I go from here? It's always good to have that one person, to have that person to just be there and be like, oh, simple, try this or do that,
Right. Yeah.
So what did it feel like once the book was complete, once it was published, sitting in your, you got the first box of shipments in your hand? What did it feel like?
It was amazing. And I think it was very surreal. I've been working on the book on and off for probably about 12 years. There were times when I wasn't working on it at all, but it was always in the back of my mind. And I just think it's the most amazing, surreal. I have this book in my hand and it's mine. It's a really cool, kind of strange experience, but in a really good way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now where can we find this book? Now that it's published, now that it's out there, where can we find it?
So it is on Amazon. There is a paperback and ebook version that are available. And it's also at Warner Books and Coffee. I'm not sure if Pressed is carrying it anymore, but I had been working with Pressed as well, which is another local bookstore. When you do search for it, if you do search for it, I have a pen name. It's E.P. Livingston. So if anybody's interested in it, just to keep that in mind.
How'd you come up with the pen name?
So it's my first and middle initial, and then Livingston is my maiden name.
Nice. So you and I met at a book signing at Warner Books. Do you have any other book signings coming up that you're aware of, or?
Nothing coming up currently. I did have the book signing at Warner's, and then I did Gannon hosted one as well. That was last Thursday, and that was really exciting too. I did a reading at it, which I had never done before, so I think it went well, and it's always a new experience. You're always doing things that kind of take you out of your comfort zone. So
hey, that's when you learn the most, when you step out of your comfort zone.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. All righty, buddy. I have two more questions for you to make this an official Buddycast.
All right.
The first one's brought to us by my buddy Jonas Kane at #Positivity. He wants to know, in your own words, what does it mean to be someone's buddy?
I think it means to be supportive and to to hash things out in a realistic way. I think it's always good to have somebody's best interest at heart.
Most definitely. The final question I have for you tonight is what we call the ultimate Buddycast buddy question. You ready for this one?
I am, yes.
For any aspiring authors out there watching this episode who have that book on their mind, they don't know what to do with it, they don't know where to go with it, maybe they're still in the process, but they're struggling with the process, what's your advice to them?
I think that perseverance and is huge. And I think going through different ideas and finding one that really sticks with you is it just makes the process so much. I think it's a difficult process to tell a story to get it all on paper. But I think once you find that story idea that you're really connecting with and you think is really important, I think it's important to persevere, keep going at it. Maybe know when to take a break if you need to, but just keep coming back to it.
Love it. I like that idea. Keep coming back to it. Just take a break, take some time off, go back to it, because you never know when new ideas are going to hit you in between that time.
Yes.
Definitely. All righty. Well, thank you so much, Buddy, for stopping on Buddycast to promote this book. It was wonderful chatting with you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. And before we end this episode, I have one favor to ask you.
Yes.
Whatever you do today, tomorrow, next week, next month, or even next year, can you promise me you're going to go out and you're going to go be someone's buddy?
Of course.
Awesome. For all my buddies out there, this is my buddy Emily, aka E.P. Livingston. Please check out her book, The Senator's Daughter. You can find it online. You can find it at my favorite bookstore, Warner Books. And it's a truly great read. My mom's currently reading it. I bought it for her, and she said she's enjoying it. So.
Oh, that's so great to hear. I'm so happy.
Thank you again, Emily, for stopping on Buddycast. Thank you to all my buddies out there that are watching today. I'm your host, Nick Sorensen. We'll catch you all next time, here on everybody's favorite show.
Well, the days are going fast, buddy, we've got to make them last, buddy, before they've all gone past, buddy, tune in to Buddycast. No, don't feel like it, go make it, buddy, here on Buddycast.